This program is brought to you by First National Bank of Botswana.
FNB, how can we help you?
When running a business means
Where did I put that receipt?
we can help you with instant accounting, free software that does your bookkeeping for you. When running a business means
Wait, what do you mean the container hasn't arrived?
we help protect your business from risk with Mohwebi Insurance. And when it means
How do we pay our staff that don't have bank accounts?
we help you make multiple payments directly to people's phones with e-wallet bulk send. At FNB, we're constantly innovating to help business owners at every stage of their journey.
As we commemorate World Antibiotic Week, we have taken to discussing antimicrobial resistance on tonight's episode. We start off first by understanding what antibiotics are. Antibiotics are powerful medicines that fight bacterial infections. When used properly, antibiotics can save lives. They either kill bacteria or keep them from reproducing. Using antibiotics when you don't need them or not using them properly, such as using them in very low doses, can add to what is called antimicrobial resistance. This happens when bacteria change and become able to resist the effects of an antibiotic. The World Health Organization estimates that by 2050, we would be dying from bacterial infections that would not have otherwise killed us had we not strengthened them with wrong or low dosages of medicines. Our guest tonight is General Practitioner Dr. Matlogonolo Mongwa to take us on an educational journey on this topic at hand. She explains what antimicrobial resistance means medically, the dangers of using self-prescribed antibiotics and in low dosages, and how we can contribute to lessening the effects of antimicrobial resistance.
Antimicrobial resistance is the ability of a microorganism to resist or to counter the effect of an antimicrobial. This is a definition from the WHO, but if I break it down into simple terms as to what these microorganisms are and what these antimicrobials are. Antimicrobials include your antifungals, antibiotics, and antiviral medication. And then the microorganisms include your bacteria, including TB, which is a bacteria, including viruses such as HIV, including parasites such as malarial parasites. So these are organisms, and over time, through natural selection, they evolve or they develop what we call genetic mutations that render them having the ability to stop antimicrobials from working. So they render the antimicrobials less effective. So they develop these genetic mutations, and once they have them, then drugs that used to work on them no longer work because of these mutations. And these mutations can be passed on from one organism to the other within the same class, and cross mutations to the other class of microorganisms.
Let us talk about the environmental factors, that contribute to your viruses, your bacteria, and your parasites, resisting medication. What are those?
The environmental factors include constant exposure to antimicrobials. For bacteria, is constant exposure to antibiotics, and for other microorganisms according to that treatment. And also including inappropriate use of these antimicrobials, such as using antibiotics for viral infections, which is very common. A lot of people, when they have a common cold or a sore throat or just an acute sinusitis, they would want to have antibiotics for such things as that, but those are not meant for viral infections, and using them for that cause will mean that eventually you develop resistance. The other thing, environmental factor, still under that includes when people buy antibiotics over the counter for inappropriate treatment of such infections. So people usually go to pharmacies and they want to buy antibiotics, which are prescription drugs, which is not right. The other thing is doctors themselves prescribing or over-treating with the wrong medications, giving antibiotics for things that don't need antibiotics without educating the client on what the possible cause is. Maybe a viral infection, and because the client demands it or is asking for it, doctors give in and they give them, or they just over-treat. Also, people don't finish that course. If you're given a 7-day course, you feel better after 3 days. People just stop taking, which is not right, because it contributes towards these bacteria developing that resistance. Yes. And other things like inappropriate use, there's more. People share antibiotics. You know, when they don't finish that course, next time a child is sick, they give them an antibiotic for something that doesn't need an antibiotic. The second one is in farming and agriculture. Yes. They use antibiotics to help with growth of plants and animals, and also they use them for treatment. So these then, like the first point, means that the microbes are exposed to that constant antimicrobials, and then resistance will ensure eventually. So that's one area. And then the last one is on water pollution. This is from pharmaceutical companies when they dispose of those, when they dispose of those residual, when they develop these antimicrobials, it goes into the water. Also fecal matter from animals, from human beings, because bacteria and other microorganisms are everywhere. They're there in your gut, they're there on your skin, they're there everywhere. And when animals with these resistant strains excrete them, some of it goes into the water and it pollutes the water. Also waste from hospitals. As you dispose of such matter from the antimicrobials, it then goes on to pollute the water. So these are the 3 environmental factors that contribute towards this resistance.
After the break, we find out how the veterinary sector contributes to this ensuing pandemic with Dr. Khasitsi Wisinto. Stay tuned to First Issues.
When running a business means
Where did I put that receipt?
we can help you with instant accounting, free software that does your bookkeeping for you. When running a business means
Wait, what do you mean the container hasn't arrived?
we help protect your business from risk with Mohwebi Insurance. And when it means
How do we pay our staff that don't have bank accounts?
we help you make multiple payments directly to people's phones with e-wallet bulk send. At FNB, we're constantly innovating to help business owners at every stage of their journey.
Welcome back. Before the break, we found out from Dr. Mongwa that directly ingesting antibiotics is not the only cause of antimicrobial resistance. She shared that meat, eggs and milk of animals that have active medicines in their system can be contributing factors. The answer lies in the insurmountable gatherings we attend within our social existence. Every other day, there is some sort of gathering at our homes or some other locations for weddings, funerals, showers, and parties. All these are well known for having enough food, especially meat, to feed a small country. At these gatherings, we eat and be merry without any thought of consequence to eating the meat, drinking the milk, or having the eggs of these animals. Do we ever stop to think about what went into the animals before they were slaughtered?
But how does eating meat or eggs and drinking milk of an animal that has been recently treated affect us as human beings? To help us understand this otherwise confusing matter, we sought out the services of veterinarian Dr. Rasiziwe Sento. Dr. Sento tells us about antimicrobial resistance in relation to the meat and other byproducts we eat, and how our lack of knowledge in animal health is detrimental to our own health.
Right. The veterinary field contributes to antimicrobial resistance in two different ways. First, the antibiotics, remember that all the animals, most of the animals that we keep are production animals, and therefore they end up in the food chain. And whatever antibiotics we use in them, and if we're not careful, we end up eating that in the form of milk, eggs, and meat. So that's how the antibiotics that are used in livestock and poultry can end up in the food chain. But also, the antibiotics that we're using in animals to cure bacterial infections in animals build up resistance, and they can also be spread to people through dung, through contact with the people that are in contact with those animals, and then the bacteria that are now resistant to the antimicrobes end up being passed on to us. And that's how it contributes to antimicrobial resistance.
Okay, so then you were talking about being careful. Perhaps you could elaborate further. Who is being careful, and in what way are they being careful or not careful anyway?
Two role players here. First, we have the clinicians, veterinarians like myself, and our support staff. If we do not use antibiotics judiciously, we use them carelessly, we can end up contributing towards antimicrobial resistance. Then we have the farmer. Okay, we do have over-the-counter antibiotics that farmers use, and unfortunately they do tend to use these antibiotics without knowledge, and they end up not using them properly, and the result of that is the antibiotics will end up causing resistance. And the farmers contribute that in two ways. The first thing is indiscriminate use of antibiotics, where anything that they suspect is sick, they inject it. Not correct dosing, not correct length of time for treatment, and then end up contributing to antimicrobial resistance. But the second and most important part is where all these antibiotics, even if we use them correctly, there is something called meat, milk, egg withdrawal period. It means if an animal has been treated with an antibiotic, there's going to be a certain period of time that we will not drink the milk, or get the milk to go into the food chain, get the eggs to go into the food chain, and the meat into the food chain. So it is absolutely crucial that farmers end up abiding by those withdrawal periods. Otherwise, we'll have antibiotics entering into the chain.
So the farmers, let us talk about them. What antibiotics are they abusing, the most common ones that we can talk about right now?
Right. The most commonly abused antibiotics in the livestock industry in Botswana are the antibiotics that have been classified as over-the-counter drugs. And these are commonly tetracyclines, and the tetracyclines, farmers will know them as terramycin, soamycin, high-tet, ultra-tet, maxi-tet. All those are tetracyclines. Okay, and then the sulfurs, and that's sulfazine 33, sulfazine 16%, and maxisulf, ecosulf, disulfox. All those are antibiotics, sulfur antibiotics that the farmers can go to the drug outlets and buy without needing a prescription. The one thing that farmers then need to understand is antibiotics are given to treat specific condition. Is the farmer trained enough to know what antibiotic to choose when they have a certain infection? The second bit is all antibiotics are given according to the dose, to the weight. So the dose is dependent 100% on the weight of the animal. The second thing that must happen is you never give an antibiotic as a one-off injection. It is always a course of treatment. Commonly in our scenario with our farmers, you have an infection, you give it one injection. If it doesn't improve the following day, you change to something else. The right way of using antibiotics so that we do not end up with antimicrobial resistance is simply this. Is this the right antibiotic to use for this condition? And finally, it is very, very important that we document the last treatment so that we know when this animal was last treated with this antibiotic. Because on the bottle it will say milk withholding period, withdrawal period. So that means this animal must be alive if it's written 30 days and we gave the last injection on the 1st. 30 days later, that's the only time that this animal can go into the food chain. If it goes earlier than that, then we're creating a problem. It means people are going to be taking that antibiotic at low dose. Okay? And this is commonly what happens. We go to weddings, funerals, all the ceremonies that we attend, and we enjoy our meat. And nobody has any idea when last these animals were treated. And it then means we're constantly being exposed to these antimicrobials at a low dose, allowing your own bacteria to start building resistance. Because there's a fallacy that people think antibiotics that are used in animals are completely different from antibiotics that are used in people. And unfortunately, they're identical. They're the same chemicals. Okay? There isn't a tetracycline for people and a tetracycline for livestock. Tetracyclines are tetracyclines. So if we use them badly on the livestock side, it will affect on the human side. And we really need to be careful about it.
When running a business means
Where did I put that receipt?
we can help you with instant accounting, free software that does your bookkeeping for you. When running a business means
Wait, what do you mean the container hasn't arrived?
we help protect your business from risk with Mohwebi Insurance. And when it means
How do we pay our staff that don't have bank accounts?
we help you make multiple payments directly to people's phones with e-wallet bulk send. At FNB, we're constantly innovating to help business owners at every stage of their journey.
Africa has over the years been seen to be lagging behind on issues of development. Although the continent's capital markets have developed at a much faster pace this decade than ever before, the region's economic and political uncertainty has presented most of these entities with challenges of finding innovative ways of attracting investors. In spite of this revelation, what are the opportunities that lie in African capital markets amid these uncertainties? Botswana will host the 23rd Annual African Securities Exchanges Association ASEA Conference 2019 under the theme Building Resilient African Capital Markets to discuss issues affecting African capital markets today. The discussions will be with 300 industry experts, including global policymakers, intermediaries, and investors, who will convene for the conference next week in Kasane. First Issues spoke to one of the participants of the conference, Harriet Mlalazi, who tells us about the key points that would be discussed next week.
The conference comes at a very pivotal time, where the industry is facing a lot of challenges around corporate governance, around markets that are not liquid. So the conference is an opportunity for financial providers, for different stakeholders to actually be together in the room and discuss the differences, the many different challenges faced in the industry, and also discuss the solutions, practical, real, innovative solutions around what we can do to develop our markets. We're excited because the conference attracts players from all over. When you look at developed markets, they're already embracing technology, innovation, doing so much that we can also learn from. So we're excited. We're looking forward to those discussions. We're also looking forward to showcasing ourselves because we've done a lot in Botswana in terms of just transactions around, different entities that are listed. We're passionate about taking companies through the curve, and seeing our companies play in the bigger platforms being listed here and also being listed in the region. So we'll also be engaging with our clients, with different entities to also showcase our capabilities.
So how does a conference of this magnitude help position Botswana in the global market?
This conference is great for a lot of reasons, right? On the one side, we talk the capital markets, but on the other, this conference is being held in Kasane to also showcase the tourism side, But in terms of the industry, the BSE hosting this conference, you actually bid for it. So the Botswana Stock Exchange actually won the bid to host. And that speaks volumes in terms of how they are viewed globally, in terms of how, as a result, or by extension, we are viewed as Botswana, right? So it is an achievement not just for the BSE, but for Botswana as a whole. And to have the brilliant minds come all the way to discuss such key pivotal issues in Botswana and in our beautiful Kasane. So there's a lot really to celebrate, and there's a lot to actually position our country on.
Please be wary of the meat, eggs and milk you consume, as they may still contain traces of medicines that may add to the antibiotic resistance crisis. Do not use any medicines for undiagnosed ailments before consulting a health professional. We hope you join us again next week for yet another informative show. Until then, have yourselves a pleasant evening.
This program was brought to you by First National Bank of Botswana.
FNB, how can we help you?